Alrighty, fanboys, fangirls, if you were expecting iPhones to get a huge takeover with Apple's in-house modems, well, there is some good news and maybe bad news, because it looks like Apple will not be using their own in-house modems and are gonna stick with Qualcomm, and I'm gonna tell you why it is a good thing and also it's a bad thing. And also there's more epic things to talk about on this episode, so let's not waste any time. Don't go anywhere, turn the quality up to 4K because Technoid starts right now. So story number one, the main story, the iPhone 14 modems. Now, to the cellular YouTubers that have been looking forward to me talking cellular, this is your episode. Now, as you know, a while back, Apple bought the Intel modem department as they are looking to build their own in-house modems. They're looking to try to keep the iPhone under their control. However, though, at the current moment of this recording and also their agreement with Qualcomm, they have been supplying the iPhone with Qualcomm modems. And it is proven that Qualcomm modems are reliable, they work, and they're just better. And if you need any proof, look at the iPhone saga with Intel modems. Remember how they had to throttle the Qualcomm modems just to match the performance of the Intel modems? It was a huge catastrophic disaster. Well, Apple thought they could do something different and innovate by trying to buy out their department and doing it under their own wing. Well, that didn't go according to plan, because according to the GOAT himself, Mr. Ming-Chi Kuo, he claims that the iPhone 14s will no longer be debuting the in-house modems that Apple was working on, and instead will be using the Qualcomm modems. According to Kuo, the reason is simple. It did not meet expectations, the performance could not match, and it just doesn't seem like it's ready. So instead of launching it at 20% Qualcomm modem sets, it will be 100% supplied by Qualcomm, and their in-house modem will be pushed back by either a year or two, depending on the performance. Now, let's talk about the good in this. Number one, this is a good thing for Qualcomm because they're going to continue making some banks off of Apple. And as you know, Apple and them never really played hand in hand. However, recently they did reach an agreement and they are working. It's basically like co-parenting. They hate each other, but they care about the product, so they're just willing to work together to make the iPhone good for people. So that's the best way to look at it. That's number one. Number two, the reason why this is good is because Qualcomm modems have always been performance-wise excellent. They're able to handle the highest data speeds, and when it comes to compatibility and working with all major carrier networks, the Qualcomm chipsets are excellent. So there's no reason to want to rush. However, though, there is a negative to this, and there are two areas that I'm going to talk about. Number one is pricing. Because they're still using the Qualcomm chipsets, Apple is probably most likely going to have to keep the price at a little bit of a higher cost, not only because of inflation, but also to maintain this in-house, before it debuts. Because that would have reduced the price of the iPhone, at least at the very minimum, the cheaper iPhones. It probably would have helped to have lowered the price, but because they're sticking with Qualcomm, they're gonna have to keep the prices at the same or raise it by a little bit. But number two, the reason why this is bad is because Apple still wants to make it. Like seriously, there is nothing good about an in-house modem made by Apple that's originating from Intel. Now, I will admit, maybe I'm a little bit biased. Maybe it's because I've studied the Qualcomm series. Maybe it's because I've studied the saga that's happened with Apple and Intel. But guys, the track record was not good. The saga, the overheating, the performance throttling, the software issues trying to get the modems, it was a disaster. And even Intel knew it was a disaster because they went right out. They didn't even try. They said, we're done. Now, Apple, of course, being Apple, they did buy it from them and they are experimenting and working. But does that guarantee that it's going to be a high performance modem? No, but it can be. There is potential, but there are so many obstacles and things that they have to get through. And if this is any indication by Ming-Chi Kuo that it just did not live up to expectations or it just couldn't outperform, there's your answer right there. So I think personally, even though I understand Apple wants full control of the iPhone, they want to make their own in-house modems, they want to make their own in-house everything. I understand if this is the goal for Apple, is to also reduce costs and keep everything in-house. But here's the thing. This is a smart move on Apple because the cellular performance is going to be great. So you have no worries about your iPhone getting iffy performance. That's number one. Number two, I understand they're not the biggest fan of Qualcomm, but this will work out better because it's just established. And number 3, when they finally get it right and when they finally make their in-house modem, fingers crossed, praying right now to the good Lord up there somewhere, anywhere in the universe, that it actually does very well. Now, even though I am biased in saying that I don't think it's going to be as good as Qualcomm, we have to wait and see. But for now, Qualcomm is here to stay. Alrighty, story number 2, keeping up with Apple, let's talk about the M2 MacBooks. Now, as you know, the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro M2 models are out there. The pre-orders for the MacBook Air are actually being so heavy that they're pushing back the release to July now. So for those of you that have pre-ordered and are waiting, you're looking like you're gonna get it July 15th, I believe. But focusing on the M2 MacBook Pro, there's a little bit of concern because this could also fall on the M2 MacBook Air. According to several reports to users that have used the M2 model, the base 256GB SSD option is increasingly slow. It is so slow. The M2, according to users, is so power heavy and consumption that the machine, when it performs in comparison to the M1, is only half of what the M1 is capable at max volume. Now, maybe I worded that wrong, or you're probably thinking, but wait a minute, isn't that a good thing? Here's the problem. The SSD speeds are super slow, and under stress and heavy power consumption, it goes down even more. Number 2, the M2 is a power hungry mother... Sorry about that. But in all seriousness, it is draining. It is going to kill the battery. And this is what users are reporting, and now it's causing panic because a lot of people are worried that because the MacBook Air has no cooling system, it has nothing, and how power hungry this M2 chip is, people are worried that it could actually be a bad kind of product, and that the only saving grace with the MacBook Pro with the M2 chip is the cooling fans, but even then it doesn't cool it enough. Now, here's my thing. Maybe all these complaints wouldn't happen if you didn't buy the base model. Because that's what everybody's talking about, the base model. What about the 512? Oh, okay, so it has for everybody. Never mind then, so it's for every model. Well, then I guess you're gonna have 2 solutions then. Number 1, if you pre-ordered a MacBook Air, definitely get some weenies and hold it over your computer because it's gonna definitely get toasty up in this room. But in all seriousness, in all honesty, it is something to watch out for. We'll have to see if Apple will address it with software issues or software fixes. Most likely they can do that, but then again, you're gonna throttle the performance, but we'll have to wait and see. But again, guys, this isn't new. We've seen this with every MacBook, so we'll have to wait and see. We will see what happens when the MacBook Air M2 model launches, and better get your marshmallows, better get your weenies. And that's for today's episode of Technoid. Now guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, hit the like button. If you disliked the video, you can hit the dislike button to help circulate my videos as well. As always, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I will see you all in the next episode. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Take care, stay safe, have a good day, and peace.